I was scouting for a cross-country runner back in the late 90s for the annual inter-constituency cross-country race. I spotted this 15-year-old boy from Victoria School who clocked a sub 17 minutes for the 5.2 kilometer route at the Marriage Reservoir. Moving forward to 2004, he was part of the national under-21 football team. From 2006 to 2010, he went on to play for Young Lions, Geylang United and Gombak United while pursuing his degree in finance with the National University of Singapore. You'll be hearing from him how he managed to cope with the demand of his training while balancing his studies after we roll out the intro. Welcome to Lepak with Ant. Let's hear what our guests have to say. Or there are beans to spill. Strap on the seatbelt and let's go for a ride with me. We can learn from our guest's story. So, subscribe to my channel as we can experience life journeys together. My guest chose the corporate pathway after he graduated from the university. With the tenacity and the values that he acquired during his development years in sports has helped him in his career. He was posted to 2 overseas assignments, 3 years in Denmark and 2 years in US. As he continued to inspire his alumni in Victoria School and Victoria Junior College, let's meet our guest for the day, Fabian Tan. Hi, Fabian. Thanks for coming down.
Good to see you.
All right, good to see you.
Yeah.
To begin with, would like to introduce yourself to our viewers.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Anthony. Hi, my name is Fabian. I'm a leadership consultant right now. Just came back from the US and back in Singapore for about 8 months. Have been in this company for about 7 years. Previously, growing up, I was a soccer fan and also played professional football for about 4 years, from 2006 to 2010. Football has always been my passion. Got to play and train under quite a few of my football heroes like Tong Hai, V. Sundramuthi, Abang Fandi Ahmad, Robert Lim. So football has always been a big part of my life, and I'm translating a lot of the things I learned into the corporate world. So,
what? Perhaps you'd like to share with your viewers actually how we met.
Anthony, we go way back, right? I was a cross-country runner in secondary school and was training in MacRitchie Reservoir, and that's where I met Anthony, who was the team manager for a community center in Bishan, right? So I was training. Anthony talent spotted me in some sense and gave me the opportunity to represent Bishan CC.
So, as I said, the passion is in soccer. All right, I think it's at which level, at which year, then your growth of the soccer starts to develop in terms of playing at a higher level?
Yeah. So growing up, I've always been very interested in football. My dad brought me to watch the Malaysian Cup games in full capacity in the old Kallang Stadium. So that's where I really generated interest. But I never really got a chance to play or train at a high level until JC. So in secondary school, I was a cross-country runner. I guess that built some of my foundations in terms of stamina and build. But it was in JC when I got in touch with my coach, Mr. Tan, and he was the one who gave me the opportunity to pursue football. And since then, played 2 years in JC and then played for Singapore Armed Forces.
All right. During your national service day, right?
Yes. In fact, Coach Toki Jan gave me the opportunity to play amongst very experienced players who are serving NS, but going back to the S League after that.
All right.
So that was the time when it ramped up, and subsequently got spotted by Abang Fandi, who brought me into the under-21 team.
As you drafted into the national under-21 team, right? That is under Coach Fandi Ahmad, right?
It was a mixture, It was a mixture. I think Coach Robert Lim was the first one, and then Abang Fandi was also involved. Coach Terry Pakbamandan was also
so many
very
coaches
much in charge as well.
Yeah. that is during your national service, I would say.
Yeah.
All
That
right.
was right.
And then you started your S-League journey in 2006.
Yeah.
And that is where you also at the same time enlisted into NUS. How are you able to cope with the demand of the training
Yeah.
plus your academic?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it was a tough time. I mean, I contemplated putting off my studies for at least 1 to 2 years to pursue professional football. But after thinking about it and discussing with my parents, I think I still had the hunger and desire to try and at least balance both.
Okay.
Yeah, it was interesting and very difficult to manage both.
All right.
Because there were times when we had double sessions. We had to train in the morning, and then I had to go for classes and train in the evening as well,
Alright.
and then head back to do my project work. So it
Okay.
requires quite a lot of discipline. But yeah, with the support of my teachers and my coaches and my parents and family, it was quite a fruitful experience.
All right. Are you able to recall which one is the first major tournament you actually participated in international level?
Yeah, I think it's the under 21 national under 21 football tournament that was in Sarawak. I recall we were having competitors from Malaysia, from Cambodia, and also some club teams as well that were involved. So that was probably the first.
Well, how about the experience that you had during the 2006 to 2010? All right. I mean, you played for the Young Lions.
Yeah,
That's for 1 or 2 years?
2 years.
2 years, and subsequently you went to Geylang United
Geylang United, yeah.
for 1 year.
Yeah, for 1
And
year.
then after the last team that you played for is Gombak.
Yeah,
All right.
that's right.
Throughout these 4 years, right, I'm sure it's a very taxing routine for you.
Yeah,
Like I said in the beginning, you have to balance between
yeah,
to cope with the training plus
yeah,
your studies.
yeah.
How would your day begin with in a packed day?
Yeah.
How is it like?
Yeah, I would say the first, my day would start the night before because I'm always a very big proponent of sleep. So
Okay.
I do make sure that I have a good dinner and carbo load
Alright.
about 7 p.m. and make sure I try to go to bed before 11:30 to have enough rest. And you know, sometimes in the national under 23 squad, we do have gym sessions in the morning. So we'll report to gym under the famous Sasha. So that, you know, double session could be twice a week.
All right.
And then you know, going back to studies, going back to lecture
Okay.
back in NUS, and then
Alright.
field training in the afternoon. And then sometimes we have you know, every week we would have matches, right?
All right. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So aside playing in the national under 21 or under 23 teams,
Yeah.
of course you play for the varsity that you are
Yeah.
studying, right?
Yeah.
So how you actually balance, you know?
Yeah, I think
But are you allowed to play as a ethnic player in the intervarsity?
I think at the time we were allowed because we were still representing this college, so it's fine. My teammates and Coach Arasu was very understanding about my training schedule with the club. So they gave me a lot of flexibility, and yeah, it was very taxing, right? Of course, when you have so many tournaments and trainings together.
For the that 4 years, were there any moment that we say that shit, I took the wrong pathway? I should have taken some gap year, or should I gear up football, or you know, that kind of thoughts.
Yeah, that's a great question, Anthony. I still reflect back fondly, right, to those 4 years, and I wouldn't have traded anything for those 4 years.
Okay.
But I do recall there were some periods where I was very down because of injuries.
All right.
Which made me question my decision as well. Sometimes whether should I have dedicated so much time and energy to pursue my childhood dream, right? And then there was a point of time when I was playing for Geylang. I was traveling back and forth from east to west, west to east.
Yeah.
It was it kind of sucked out a lot of the joy of football, to be honest. But I think that thinking back, I managed to recover, and I really see football as a joy for me. Yeah, so there were moments definitely where I thought
Yeah.
it was tough, but with the encouragement of my family and friends,
Alright,
it was
alright.
very helpful.
What were your thought process, right, at the moment when you go through those tough period? How you actually convince yourself?
Yeah, I think resilience is very important, mental and physical resilience, because trainings will be tough physically,
Oh,
right?
definitely, yeah.
And you put through your body through a lot of stress, and mentally when you're competing, you got to be at a very high level as
Yeah.
well. So I think you know, knowing my joy and my purpose of playing football is important. I really like playing football. I enjoy going to training, playing with excellent technical players.
Alright.
Kept me going, and
Okay.
I didn't want to give up the chance to play at a high level, right? So
Alright,
I managed to crawl my way back.
Those sulking days normally last for how long?
Not for long, not for
Alright.
long. I mean, you have bad days, maybe you have a
Yeah.
bad game here and there. You might lose sleep for a couple of nights, but you know,
Alright,
as a
alright.
professional, you have to come back strong
Okay.
and put it away and look forward to the next game, right?
Yeah. So it's more of the internal passion that you had for the game,
Yeah,
and the love
yeah,
for it, and then it actually
Yeah.
kept you going, right? Balancing the demand of the training.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really tough because it's a lot of physical, right?
Yeah.
And especially you go back to your classes,
yeah,
where it's more of a mental.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I think one thing is that I feel that nobody can be a footballer forever, right? And I've been given that opportunity
Alright.
by coaches who trust me and believe that I could perform. I didn't want to let them down as well. So I
Yeah.
guess that was also a big reason.
Yeah. In your last year, all right, as a in the university and in the and the moment that you decided, when I graduate, I'm going to move on.
Yeah.
How was that feeling?
Oh, it was very tough. I mean, Anthony, I was offered another year contract to stay in Gomak United. I was
Alright,
playing regular first team football.
Yeah.
And I scored a goal, I think it was August or September, I remember, against my former club, Young Lions. So my career was actually getting pretty well, and I got a text from the then team manager saying that, the national team manager saying that you're tracking well, you know, keep it up, you know, you're knocking on the doors
Yeah.
of the national team, you know, playing at my position. So I was very heartened and encouraged by
all this.
by people who gave me a lot of faith. So stepping out at pretty much at the peak of my career was a tough decision, but at the same time I got a role that gave me a lot of international exposure, gave me the opportunity to live in Denmark. I thought it was too good to give it a miss and defer it for one more year.
Okay. I mean, in those developing years, right? What kind of values that you actually acquired and that you had, that you were actually applying in your corporate world?
Firstly, is mental resilience, because in a football game, there's a lot of things we cannot control, right?
Yep.
We can control our training, we can control our diet, but we cannot control the field, the referee, how the fans react,
Yeah.
how the opponents,
The progress of the game as well.
what kind of strategy or
Yeah.
tactics do they have? So the mental aspect is what I really got from football, right? To be able to stay sharp, to be focused, you know, in competitions where stakes are high. One of the examples I always give is when you take a penalty shootout, right? The time when you walk from the center of the circle to the penalty spot, that's the longest 20 seconds you will pretty much have, right?
Yeah.
Because so many things are going through your mind, you know, whatever you practice, and the keeper, you know, you might get a lot
Second
of doubts.
guess.
Yeah. So the mental part is so crucial, and drawing on your question, in the corporate world is very much the same, right? You get pressures from your boss, your supplier, your customers.
Yeah.
So if you don't have the mental strength and resilience, it's going to be very hard to make that breakthrough, right?
Okay. So, is there any experience that you had, you actually applied and then you find that, oh wow, it's really worked well for me, and you feel good about it?
You mean in the corporate?
In the corporate world, yes, yeah.
Okay, I think it's like I said, the switch, right? That is important. Knowing when to switch off and switch on, because when you step onto the football pitch, your mind should only be about football, about your time on the pitch, the strategy that your coach gave you, the teammates, and everything else, right? It's all about football. But when you step out of football, you got to reflect back and understand.
Right.
Same for the corporate world, right? If you had a bad day, you need to switch out and not brood over things. You got to reflect and improve, yes, but there's no point self-sabotaging or brooding over things, right? So that mental switch is extremely important.
Yeah, that's very critical, because if not, you'll be overloaded with a kind of struggling internally about, normally I call the devil and the angel, right? Fighting, and that is where it can cause you sleepless night and overthinking, overanalyzing. That can cause a downfall. Are you able to share some of your experience when you were posted to Denmark? All right. How much difference it is in the corporate side, right? In let's say in Singapore compared to Denmark.
Yeah, lots of differences. I would maybe point out to a few. One is, I think, language. Danish, the Danes, they have their own language. So for me to come in to understand, it was quite a challenge. Even though I tried, I learned basic Danish. But to get into their inner circle, you pretty much have to speak their own language. Singapore, we grew up in a society that's very competitive. When we are younger, our kids, are being pushed hard to achieve strong academic results. Whereas in Denmark, they have been voted the world's happiest country for many years in a row, right? It's not just about results. There's a lot of creativity, innovation. At a young age, they are already out playing football or they're doing sports. And there's a lot of freedom.
Being alone out there, and how long you take to adapt yourself to that, into their environment.
It's about taking yourself out of your comfort zone, right? Because in Singapore you have your friends, your family, you draw you draw support from them. Whereas in Denmark, the weather is cold, there's four seasons. You got to cycle everywhere you go. Infrastructure in transport, public transport is very minimal. So the cycling culture actually helps. I think it didn't take me too long because I have a lot of common area of interest with the Danes. We are all very professional and try to do things right, so there's a lot to talk about as well.
So you spent good 3 years in Denmark. I guess you benefited a lot from that experience, right? And then you came back to Singapore, and you moved on to States. How was your experience?
Yeah, it's very different working for a European-based company and a US-based company, right? Because the philosophies are different, the DNA is very different. I think many of the European industries or companies, they value a lot of heritage and a lot of tradition, whereas in the US, I would say they are very, they approach it in a way that nothing is impossible. There's a lot of room for growth, and that's why you see a lot of companies, creative, innovative companies from the US, right? Facebook, Google,
a lot of those,
tech companies, because they're always pushing the boundaries. So this philosophy-wise is different, but then again, there's no bad or good, right? It's just a DNA and approach to business.
In the corporate world, right, and comparing to the sporting world that you experienced before and right now. So what are the common traits that you can actually think of that you perhaps like to share with the viewers?
On top of the mental resilience and agility I talked about, I think two other components are important. One is teamwork. I think in a team sport, you really rely on your teammates, right? There's only one score line, right? So whatever result, whether it's a win or a loss, is attributed to the team. It's very similar in the corporate setting, where very often you have to partner with people overseas who have a different culture, or even locally, there are different personalities and styles. You just got to be able to play on their strengths, help cover up their weaknesses, very much like a team sport, right?
All right. Okay.
And then
good.
you work towards a common goal, right?
Yeah,
You
right.
win as a team, you lose as a team.
Okay.
So I think team sport, team spirit is one.
Mm-hmm.
Secondly, it can be very outcome focused, right?
Okay.
Like you go into a tournament in football or in running, it's either you win or you lose. Sometimes it's very cool.
Yeah.
It's the same in the corporate world when you're trying to win projects, right? It's either 1 or 0, right? So you got to manage wins humbly. You got to manage losses in a very reflective way.
All right. Okay.
Mm.
The three things are mental resilience,
Mm-hmm.
teamwork,
Yeah.
setting goals, right?
Yeah, if you think about it, right, it's like individual,
Yeah.
your mental strength,
Yeah.
on top of your physical abilities.
Yeah.
And then you have teamwork, where
Yeah.
you can't win without your teammates.
Yes.
And then the goal itself, right?
Yeah,
It's always
right.
that,
It's always
that
that
transition.
difference.
Yeah.
So, good. Before we end, is there any word of encouragement to our viewers?
I think don't let go of your goals. If you have a certain inspiration, be it in music or in arts or in sports or even in your pursuits in career, don't let criticisms bring you down. I mean, at the very start for me, there are a lot of people who thought that I wouldn't play professional, but I always had that dream when I was a very young kid, right? So if I had let a lot of these naysayers hit me down,
Yeah.
I wouldn't have lived a very fulfilling footballing career. So always dream, always keep the faith, but at the same time, put in effort and you achieve your goals.
Thank you, Fabian.
All right, thanks, Anthony.
Thank you,
Good to
thank
catch
you.
up. Take
Cheers.
care, everyone.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Learning valuable lesson in his developing years and prioritizing his goals, these are integral to Fabian's growth. This is exactly what happened to him when he has to decide to continue playing or the corporate pathway. End of the day, he decided to quit playing even though he was at his peak. There are 3 strong attributes that he has learned during his playing days which enable him to apply in today's context. They are prioritizing his goals, the importance of teamwork, and having mental resilience. With these 3 skill sets, he was able to carve out a successful corporate journey. I'm taking this opportunity wishing him all the best. To the next episode, cheers and bye for now.